break. We did mention to go outside. I know it was a very short break and everybody was very anxious to get back to it. HomeBox actually has most of their presentation in the parking lot, believe it or not. Now, you will obviously see a representation of it here up on the screen, but there is an actual physical box directly out the main door here, so when you're leaving, take a minute, check it out. You'll hear about it now, but you'll be able to see the actual physical product when you get out there. So we are going to introduce James P. Matsopoulos with HomeBox.
How are you? Can you hear me okay? Great to see all of you. Thank you all for coming, and just as a brief introduction, you can look at the program for a little more about me. I've been doing real estate in Schuylkill County for 2 years now, and a lot of this presentation is a result of the different problems that we've seen throughout the areas that we've been investing in, and with the intention of really wanting to bring some new and innovative solutions to Schuylkill County. So without further ado, HomeBox, reimagining affordable living. So what is HomeBox? Now, of course, we have one out there, but just as a brief introduction, HomeBox, we're imagining how shipping containers can be used in everyday life differently than just having them on cargo ships, right? So these are single-use containers that come from Asia. They are not corroded, they are not rusted, they do not fit the graffiti stereotype that you might think of when you think of shipping containers. And that's why we chose them, because they are strong, they are waterproof, and they are set for 10 to 15 years of lifespan on the high seas. So you can imagine sitting in one spot without being rustled around and hit with waves, what they can actually last, which we're hoping is a good 20 to 30 years. Each HomeBox unit combines a minimalist design and tries to introduce as much functionality with a small space as possible. So I know it might seem like it's a small space, 160 square feet, but when you get in and you really do realize that it's not much smaller than what you find in a college dorm, to be honest with you, with all the amenities of having a small house. The nice thing about this is we're also doing move-in ready. So instead of us saying, well, we're going to give you an unfurnished unit, we're going to expect you to go out and buy beds and furniture that's going to fit exactly with the structure, we're bringing that all to the table. It's not out there currently just because I wanted to give you some standing room, but we definitely are planning to have a fully furnished and fully functional unit on delivery. Our 5 main pillars that we're focused on for HomeBox is building them quickly, deploying them anywhere, and I do mean anywhere except for underwater and underground. Easily maintainable, affordable, and move-in ready. And the goal here is, of course, to bring affordable housing back to Schuylkill County, because you say affordable housing, but I'm 24 years old. I know a lot of my friends will not be able to have a house until they have 2 income streams in the household. And so this gives people an opportunity to have a third option, other than living at home with parents after college, or getting into either a rental or a mortgage that they can't afford. All right, so let's take a look at it. This is an overview photo of our 200 series, which is a fancy way of saying a 20-foot unit. It's 20 feet long. Of course, we insulate the walls and we insulate the ceiling and floor, so we are stuck with a little bit less than 18 feet. But that space does give us a lot of room to do more than you think. So we have our toilet, our sink, our standing shower, washer dryer full size. We have our kitchen sink. In this case, it looks like a cooktop, but we have a pull-out cooktop that we can plug in so we can maximize countertop space. We have a over-the-range microwave, and then, of course, our refrigerator. Now, if you notice here, this is actually a pretty nifty thing. I wish I could have had space to show you tonight. It is a 4-shelf piece of furniture that actually comes out and folds into a table. So it's basically a Murphy table. And then 2 stools that slide underneath it just right, so that we have a maximum of floor space there for cooking and using the kitchen and the laundry area. That is a full-size bed, and this is all to scale. So that bed gives us enough room to have a TV mounted on the wall, a little bit of space here for storage if needed, and then our main split unit mounted on the rear of it. So I'll get into our plumbing and electrical in a moment, but that's the gist of it. If you look at our 40-foot unit, which is our 400 series, you'll notice that the interior portion, that center 20 feet, looks very similar to the one you just saw. And that's because by design it actually is almost identical in terms of how we laid it out with our kitchen, our bathroom, and our sleeping area, or in this case, our entertainment space. The nice thing about a 40 is that we can put 2 10-foot bedrooms on either side and have closet space, which really makes this into a true 2-bedroom home rather than a studio apartment where everyone's walking right into your bedroom. So this would be able to accommodate a small family, or maybe even friends out of college who want to save some money and move to a different city. And that is starting at only $10,000 more than our 20-foot unit. So I won't go too in depth with this, but it's basically color-coded design of what we did when we first designed HomeBox. And then the reason I wanted to show this, we have a few questions about the plumbing and electrical. We did this in a way that tried to minimize the amount of costs that we had with our plumbing, our labor, and we passed all those costs on to the consumer. That's why we're able to meet a price of just $35,000. So if you see in the first diagram there, it's green. Those green lines are actually drains that run underneath the floors. So our toilet is our 3-inch line, which goes straight down at the bottom and would connect to our sewer line connection. And then we have 1.5-inch lines going in either direction that service the other appliances there. By doing that, we really do minimize the amount of time that we have our guys in there, which has been able to get us to that price point comfortably. At the bottom, you'll see a very similar layout as well, with hot and cold water lines and a water heater, which is mounted under the sink. It is it doesn't have a tank, it is an instant water heater. It's a 120 amp water heater, but for the purpose of someone who has city electric, it shouldn't be an issue. And then we have our electric service over there. I won't get too in depth, but that's essentially where we have all of our wires running behind the walls. All right, so our HomeBox site preparation. For the majority of cases, if we're selling them out the door, we're not going to be doing the prep. But in our case, when we're doing HomeBox communities or small developments, and then also selling them on the MLS pre-installed on slab foundation, this is the arrangement that we've gone with. And the reason why is because if you recall back on the diagram, the 20-footer, our bathroom toilet is our center of our plumbing system. So this allows us to flip our bathroom mirror image and then also flip it to the opposite end of the container, effectively giving us the ability to still have the front facing the street and make it as convenient as possible without having to redo plumbing underground or potentially incur additional costs for those who are purchasing it. So this is a great example of what a community can look like. I know it's a bit hard to see, but these are essentially what would be shipping container duplexes. So you have two and basically a walkway shared between them. They're 40-footers. And then on this side over here and down here, you have singles in a very similar orientation that you would see in a mobile home park. The nice thing about this is that it can take place in mobile home parks, and this layout kind of shows how you can, over time, either purchase out and replace all of the existing single wides from the 70s that are probably not livable, or in the future, as people get to the point of wanting a newer house, instead of having to move out of their communities, they can go ahead and replace their existing home with a HomeBox. All right, so why do we do it? There's 4 reasons why, and all of them are from what I've seen in Schuylkill County over the last 2 years. The first is affordable housing. Affordable housing, I'm sure those of you who have kids, my age especially, that has been something that's been on the mind for the last few years, ever since COVID, and many people just have been priced out of the market. No matter what they do, unfortunately, they just can't get a house. And so this gives people an opportunity to have an asset that they don't have to, live in a camper or live with family. They can really build into something, and then if they want to move, they can take it with them, or they can sell it as a home when they leave. Second thing is emergency housing. One of the things that really hit me hard was when I would go to Minersville and I would see a lot of families that were displaced by fires. A lot of people that were, it wasn't their fault in the situation they were in, especially in row house fire, where it really does affect a lot of people. And so this would be an opportunity to have, emergency housing either for the county or for short-term rentals that would give people an opportunity not to have to leave the area and have their kids, have a difficult time getting to school and all the additional things that come with, leaving the area after an incident like that. Lack of investment is huge as well. I'm sure Bill Metzinger can attest to it. It's been hard to get a lot of other people interested in the area, whether it's capital, financing, grant money, or even private developers. You don't see a lot of oil signs out here. If you drive down the I mean, you see them on every block. So it's just getting the money and the developers out here has been difficult. And so that's another reason why I want to try and do something that doesn't involve as much the prep work and obviously the big bankroll line that comes with it. And of course, positive impact from day one. HomeBox has been created to kind of solve problems in the county, problems that I'm at least trying to find an interesting way to tackle it. And I think that this would be something that has a wide application, not just for the private sector and for individuals who want to buy it, not just for government housing and subsidized, but for a broad array of different purposes As you'll see, I'll mention a few other ones as well towards the end. All right, so what's our economic impact, right? So just to start, the unit you saw out there took a team of 7. I'd like to get 10 full-time positions in, that we can have them on a rotating basis, like a typical workflow that you would see in an assembly line. Also, blight remediation that we're going to be doing. We have a garage on 2nd Street, about the 600 block. That property was sold at tax sale, and it's been sitting there. It's starting to have leaks. So our goal is to have that as a warehouse. We can take stuff from Home Depot, Lowe's, have it delivered there, and stage a lot of our larger appliances there that would go in at the final steps before delivery. And of course, tax revenue. We would have our business privilege tax from being in Pottsville, as well as our real estate taxes that we're paying on this formerly delinquent property, and then the income tax and payroll tax from the payments that we make to our employees. Our future uses, I won't get too in depth. This is just a little bit more of how our HomeBox platform can really spread out beyond housing. Private office spaces, 1 to 2 car garages and storage units. These can be placed either by investors or even by neighbors who want to have a garage and share it. And a 40-footer would give you an 8 by 20 space on the inside if you were to divide it in half. And that's pretty standard for what a garage would be. I think a garage by code would be 10 by 20. So it's pretty close, and you can use it for riding mower or anything like that. And then some additional uses that HomeBox can have in terms of us managing it, right? So us having involvement, not just selling it. We mobile grocery stores, so think having these cooled, air conditioned with a POS system inside of them, taking them to a warehouse, filling them with stock, and then taking them to a lot of these remote communities that don't have access to a grocery store in town. A lot of them also don't have access to transportation. The SPS is great, but it doesn't get everywhere, and it doesn't get everywhere often enough, unfortunately. Mobile libraries and tech hubs to give students a way to have internet access, a printing station that they can fax, they can print color, black and white, and then have access to a computer as well. A veterinary clinic for staying and neutering, places like Montgomery City, Shendo, that have not just safety, but also it's a real nuisance for people that property damage does come from it, from having feral animals all over the place. And then medical clinic and doctor's offices, again, just to access areas that don't already have clinics. This wouldn't be sitting outside of a hospital, obviously, but there are a lot of towns in this county that unfortunately don't have a lot of the infrastructure that we enjoy here in Pottsville and Tamaqua as well. All right, production timeline. So this unit out here, I'm sure those of you who went in it already saw the little, quirks, little things that we did that I would do differently next time. But this is our first go at it. It is our prototype at a 9.6 high unit. It took us 6 days exactly to build it. So our lead time estimate from the beginning is 5 to 10 days. Hopefully we can get it closer to that 5 mark and perfected with all the little details done. But for right now, that's our estimate given how long it took us to do this one. And our delivery time would be 1 to 3 days. We basically would mount it on our trailer with a telehandler, take it to the site, and then deliver it wherever it is that they would want us to drop it. We have 2 different types of buyers we're expecting. One is individuals. We have people who want to own hunting land, who want to as a primary residence. Mother-daughters feel like alien family members that are elderly, and having a septic system makes this a possibility in your backyard. Also having this mobile homes, as I mentioned before, being replaced. And then, having somebody who's, let's say, a landlord who wants to have properties that yield a higher interest or higher net revenue. These are very low cost up front, and being that they're newer construction, also very low maintenance. And then, of course, we have government contracts that we do expect to at least solicit for emergency housing and subsidized housing. Hopefully in a community environment, but just to start, we want to have that conversation to see how we can work together to help that community with emergency housing as well. So here's our sales, our numbers at a glance. I didn't want to put charts up here. I figured it was kind of a small space. But it really is a volume sales company. So when we have an order, we build. We don't have an order, we don't build. That makes it very black and white in terms of where our finances are, being that we own the garage already. And I think we bought it for like $1,800 in tax sales. So I think in terms of our startup, it's pretty minimal. $5,500 container, that is a 20 or a 40. Ironically enough, they are the same price. Materials cost, that low number, that 10 is what it costs us to build this one. With the furniture we still have back at the warehouse, $13,500 is what it would take for a 40 footer. And the reason is because the end 2 bedrooms don't actually have plumbing or electric, which is the majority of what it costs. And our labor, the same thing. It's a lot of spackling, a lot of work for the 2 bedrooms, but it's not going to be double, which is great. because we can pass that savings on to the consumer. As you see with our pricing, we didn't just double the 20-footer in pricing. We tried to stay as low as possible. We make about 14.5 on our 20-footers and about 18 on our 40-footers. We do have optional charges as well. If someone wanted to have it delivered to their house, onto a pad, it's not just a roll-off situation. We can always get a crane delivery, which will be about $500 to $1,000, depending on the distance, as well as installation and prep. So if you wanted to do, let's say, a concrete pad ahead of time, we can go and take a look at that. And that's the price that JPM Enterprises, my construction company, would charge to get that installed with all the permits and everything. And then, excitingly, today we're announcing we partnered with Enhancify, which is a third-party lender that specializes in RV, mobile home, and trailer financing. We did kind of scout around to see what the best pricing interest rates were, and they have a 24 to 40-hour turnaround time, and they were fantastic. So we have a portal with them as well that people are able to apply to straight from our website. So the two ways to finance these are, obviously, if you have cash, you can just buy it and take it with you or have it delivered. Enhancify is that financing company I just mentioned, and then a mortgage, which you'd be able to do if these were pre-installed on the foundation. The goal here is to be able to have a lot of these pre-installed and make it available for people to have mortgages with low interest rates and also build into an asset that they can then sell in the future. Why does it matter? The great thing about this is we talked to the county assessment office, and they have deemed this to be a steel frame single-family home once it's placed on a pad. There is no title with the DMV. If you're familiar with mobile homes, they are given titles. So in this case, it would be a bill of sale, and it would be the equivalent of someone coming and building a house on your concrete pad, which means that this is appraised at higher value because appraisers do defer to the assessment category that it's in. And so this would give, again, more opportunity for people who are already thinking about a mortgage to go with something that's definitely within their price range. So we're asking for $100,000 tonight. That $100,000 is to increase our inventory. So we'd like to take, maybe 4 or 5 different units, build them out, show what different orientations we're able to build these, give people a better idea of what options they have available to them. And from the beginning, like I said, we've trying to think of new and innovative ways to expand. So we want to get equipment on site that we can use to help both reduce our costs for our labor and also allow us to do things like larger windows, like plasma cutter, for example, is a tool that we can buy. Telehandlers to be able to move more on site. We don't want to have to ship it from our warehouse over to our storage area because they're likely not going to be in the same town. So, and then of course, expanding our service area, we are dedicated from the beginning to Schuylkill County, and that is our intention. But of course, one day, hopefully, we'll be able to do Schuylkill County and other places. So, this money will help us get to that point where we can have marketing materials and at a click of a button, we'll be able to expand into other areas. So, but I appreciate the opportunity to talk to you all and show you HomeBox. If you haven't already gotten a chance to look at it, I really do I encourage you to take a look on the way out. It's the fruits of our labor. I have 3 different employees here tonight that I appreciate everything they do for us. It wouldn't be possible without them. And it definitely goes to show that we can do great things, but you have to have a great team behind you. So, thank you.
They're very express, very efficient, and but anyway, I have a couple of questions, and I'll move on down the road. Can you pick your colors for the outside and also inside?
The paint on the inside?
Yeah.
I don't think so. I mean, the gray is a pretty modern, standard color. I think that if someone were to order one
Inside, that's good because it shows like it's more room in there. But I'm thinking about the outside, that is sort of like a sand tan color.
Yeah, so the outside of the unit actually is going to have 2 different siding options as well. So someone can take that it is painted. I think the 3 colors we have available are navy blue, and a crimson red, and then that tan color. But then also we can use furring strips vertically, and then we can mount siding across it typically like we would in a regular house. I also saw Trex is very common for people who want to hunt and out in the woods. You have that brown color, it's pretty easy to put.
I know a while back you had indicated in one of your other presentations that they're mobile and you could move if you were a person that wanted to move around and so forth. You could do that. My question is, if it's on one of these slab foundations, is it set up that you could unbolt it and move it, or is it pretty much a permanent thing?
So, you're a banker, the banker was gonna ask me that question, I would say, yeah, of course, it's a fixed structure, you can't really put it.
I'd say give me other collateral.
So,
I'm just kidding with you.
we're going to be attaching them with the same L brackets that are used on the partnerships. So a lot of everyone knows, but these shipping containers are rated for 66,000 pounds on the inside, and they can have, they can stack 8 high and hold about 475,000 pounds. So that little tiny L bracket at the bottom has to hold that entire structure. That's what we'll be using to attach them. So they're definitely, secured, but it is also 4 bolts away from being unsecured.
I don't know if you could tell, but I was impressed. Good. And one other thing, as far as a subdivision, it would be nice, like this, showed on your picture there, as far as like a park with those things. Would that work if it was a situation where there was like a homeowners association? Because then for ingress and egress, a lot of them are, they give an easement to the home to come and go. It depends on the setup, and that would work, I think, pretty handily.
Yeah, I mean, I think at the end of the day, HOAs are set up to have the power, to make decisions, and I would have to say it's a case by case. But, the goal, I mean, even with the mobile home parks, I'd love to see situations where people take mobile home parks, install these instead, and turn them into, take those lots that are subdivided out, but they're not at the county level, bring them to the county level and sell them as individual properties. That'd be great as well.
Thank you.
Great job. Two things. Could you share with everyone how quickly you deployed this one? And then can you also just give a little bit of a background as to how you acquired the shipping containers?
Sure. So this unit, I apologize for mentioning it. It took us 6 days, almost exactly 6 days. It was a bit of a mad dash at the end. I know it was something new. We had to make some tweaks that we didn't expect to backtrack on, but at the end of the day, it is a prototype. Hopefully, that's something that we can just improve on and make it better and better as we go. As far as the second question was
How you acquired the shipping containers?
so we go through, instead of going down to Baltimore or Newark or wherever it would be to grab them, we actually go to a third party here, and they have an office in Pine Grove and in Bechtelsville called Versaball. They are a company that sources these shipping containers, but they also have guarantees to us, and they had to bring them over here without any charge. So the benefit there is that they can do our quality control and ensure that there are no leaks, there are no issues, that we're going to have to buy something and then, hey, are we driving it back to Baltimore, or what are we doing? These are these are individuals that work for a company I think we can definitely partner with over time, and be able to go to them and say, hey, this didn't work out, this is damaged, one another one, and have that type of relationship.
Great presentation. The good news is my wife just texted me and said she wants one. I don't know if that's for me in her backyard, but we might have ordered already. I guess my question is, as far as the local communities, I know you talked a lot in other presentations about the northern tier, the Montecito, the Shendos, when you have a lot of, vacant land and stuff like that. Have you reached out to them and talked to them about this concept, and would they be supportive of this, or have several in a row, or what kind of not pushback or support did you get from the local?
We've taken this to more remote towns. One we might move like Township, we drive through it all the time, but a lot of people don't realize it's Combola and parts of what Port Philly, I think. And we've spoken to them about it. They have a ton of coal. I know the biggest things for us is that, hey, there's a lot of coal land that isn't cleared for excavation. There's a lot of limitations to what you can do on it, and a lot of it's already set up that it has water lines through it, or water lines underground, right? So the idea with Blight, and they were very receptive to it, is to hopefully get some of those coal lands as a trial run and see if we can get this to rehabilitate some of those lands that have been kind of left behind. But yeah, I mean, honestly, we haven't really had any negative feedback. At least I haven't personally had any. I know that in areas where it's more densely populated, I can imagine if there were a row of 10 houses and then one in the middle burned down by itself and it was demolished, would they want to ship a container in between there? I don't know. I think that's a tough call, but I also think they're not necessarily made for that. We want to kind of build these in more suburban communities where everybody has their own space, you have a driveway, and you're sacrificing space inside, right? And so that expense, you want to have a driveway, you want to have a yard space, you want to be able to breathe a little bit more than what you get right in town.
Nice job, James. Presentation, I think, presupposes that you have water and sewer services for the shipping containers. What if you don't have access to public water and sewer? Is there a way that you can address those issues without plugging into the public?
Yes, absolutely. So originally we actually wanted to have kind of two models. One of them would be an off-grid, and one would be an on-grid. The reason we decided away or kind of shied away from doing an off-grid one is because we saw that it's very hard to convince people, hey, you have a solar panel to value, you're having a finite amount of power, you have this amount of water in your cistern, you can't waste, right? And it's very hard to tell someone to change their habits. So I think in this case, this allows someone to say, hey, we want that, and we can add that cost in. I mean, really, it would be as simple as a composting toilet, water basin for retention, and then a UV light for the treatment of the water, and then obviously, either a pre-existing cesspool or a septic that you have to have if you wanted to do an actual, permanent installation. But yeah, no, definitely these are made to be efficient, right? So they're all LED lights inside. That water heater isn't an instant water heater, but also is made that way so it doesn't consume as much over time. So the idea is to really make this where you're not, if you don't have access to those utilities, that you can still be able to do it.
Wow, thank you very much. I gotta tell you, somebody can answer that. Really nice job. I'm going to bring up the one and the only, Mr. Bob Carl here to make some closing remarks while